ends up helping the university decide whether you're a right fit for them. So it does make a difference, and you should definitely keep that in mind. But at the same time, if there aren't any clubs like that, you can make your own. Hi, my name is Faiz Noorani, and today I'm going to be giving you an overview of the university that I study at, the University of California Irvine. So I've been studying at UC Irvine for 2 years now, and I'm currently in my third or junior year. I've really enjoyed my time at this university, and I'm currently doing informatics. I'm currently pursuing a degree in informatics with a specialization in information technology and organization. My university, of course, being a University of California, is of course in California, which I think is definitely one of the best places in the US to go to. It's one of the safest places, and it was definitely California was a big part in my decision to go to the US and which specific place to go to. I had to submit my ACT scores. I had to submit my TOEFL scores. They were requirements as an international student applying to the University of California system. After that, I think now, due to this coronavirus situation, they've actually made it test optional, so you don't have to submit those test scores anymore, but it's always better if you do. I feel like it gives you a more competitive chance of getting into these universities. My score for the ACT was 31, and my score for the TOEFL was also about 107, I think. But the documents that were required, a letter of recommendation, we could get those from our high school teachers. We could get those from any professionals where you had maybe interned at before or had any kind of work experience. You could get it from places where you had done some social service. I think getting these letters of recommendation really show your sense of character to the university, and that really ends up helping the university decide whether you're a right fit for them. In the end, I do have to say that whenever you're applying to universities, it's not only just about applying to that university and then hoping that you get in. I feel like you need to choose a university that you feel that you would be a good fit for, and they think the same way. So, by giving them all these documents, it helps them make a decision, and most of the time that decision is usually right. So, they end up seeing your extracurriculars, your social service, your work experience, your grades, and then they make that decision. Maybe a little bit of advice to get, say like a statement of purpose or your normal essays that you're supposed to write. So for the University of California, they have, I think, 3 or 4 prompts last that I remember, and those are general prompts for every single university. And then if you choose within the University of California system, so say UC Irvine, for example, you'd have 2 separate prompts that are just for that university. So, each of them are usually quite general. So there's one which is, give an overview about yourself, what are you passionate about, what are your interests, etc., etc. So that is usually pretty straightforward. Some of them, though, they're usually about, give an example of a leadership experience and how you learned from it, or something around those lines. So for those, my advice would be you should definitely always make sure to point out an experience that you had from, say, your work experience or any other extracurriculars that you may have done. And if you connect that with some of the experiences that you have, then if they see that connection in your resume and in your experience in that essay, it really usually brings out that experience well. So I think that's something that is worth doing as well. I didn't have any interviews, so obviously being an international student, firstly, there usually aren't too many universities that give you interviews, so interviews are not really much of a concern here. The reason I actually chose this university was I wanted to apply to universities in California. I wanted to go to a place which was more liberal, a little more accepting, more friendly, had good weather. So these were some of the factors that I thought about while applying to these universities. And I looked at the campus websites. I did those online campus tours so I could see how the campus looked. I also had the opportunity to go 2 years before I applied. I was in the US, so I thought maybe I could go for a few campus tours. So I visited a few campuses as well. And I did end up visiting UC Irvine. I just didn't know I was going to go there yet. And, you can really see whether you feel like you'll be happy in this place. And I felt that in most of the campuses in California. Just to give you an example, I applied to the University of Michigan as well. And as great of a college university that is, I didn't like the weather at all. It was really cold, and I don't know, I didn't get the same happy feeling that I did in California. So it does make a difference, and you should definitely keep that in mind. Otherwise, you should definitely try and talk to seniors, or try and talk to people at that university, or who have finished studying at that university. So, if there are people from your school who have gone there, or if there are people who are there right now, or, people like me, for example, you can always reach out to me and, ask me any questions about the university. I'm happy to help. And that really does help, because then you can get a real perspective on how the university was like, what it was like for some people, whether they found it easy, difficult. My study life abroad, it's great, really. I mean, I couldn't have imagined it to be any better. I get so many opportunities to do so many new things that I wouldn't have been able to do back home, that I'm really grateful for that. For example, I think they have this huge sports complex with all different courts. So they have a badminton, tennis, basketball, football, cricket pitch. They've got a lot of stuff. And I am a big fan of tennis. I'm a big Roger Federer fan. So I actually ended up going to the tennis court with my friends. We end up playing some tennis once in a while, maybe every once in 2 weeks. And there's a gym, so you can work out, and it's usually pretty close to the dorm rooms. So then you can just get a quick workout in between classes if you have the time, and you can usually make time for these type of things. The library is really, really good, really nice. It's a very quiet environment, and if you don't have if you don't usually end up studying well in your room, you can end up just going to the university library and studying there. It's very quiet, and plus you end up seeing other people study. So because you see other people study, you end up wanting to study and finish your work off. So it's a good motivator as well. The competition is fierce, I will say that much, because the UCs, the University of California universities, have, most of them except for Berkeley, are all following the quarter system. Now, the quarter system, in my opinion, is much harder than the semester system. I think that it's a 10-week intensive schedule instead of I don't know how much a quarter a semester is, but a semester is usually longer. Whenever this course is accelerated and shortened into 10 weeks, you end up learning more because you can take more courses through your 4 years. The only problem is it goes by really fast, and it is really tough. You need to be mentally and physically prepared to actually handle those courses, because 2 weeks into the class, you'll start having tests, you'll start having midterms, and that'll go on straight till the 10th week where you have finals. So, initially I didn't realize how intensive that was, and I thought, okay, I'm sure I'll be able to manage, but I barely had any free time. I had maybe Sundays I could take a few hours off before getting back to doing, assignments and homework, etc. So just keep that in mind. I think that's something to keep note of as well. Otherwise, I didn't have anybody from my high school coming to my university, but it's located in, I forgot to say this, it is located in Orange County, which is about 45 minutes outside of Los Angeles. So some of my friends do study there. So the good thing is then I can drive there and visit them, which is also really nice. It's a nice outing. I can take some of my university friends to LA. We can go to Malibu. We can go to all these different places and kind of explore a little bit. So I think that's really nice. Usually, besides this, the university does offer a lot of clubs, and they offer a lot of you can join a lot of clubs basically, and they have clubs for literally everything. So there's something like a aerospace club, and there's literally like a zombie apocalypse club that I saw recently. So you can join a club for literally anything that you want to do, just to find like-minded people who are doing the same thing or like the same things. But at the same time, if there aren't any clubs like that, you can make your own. So, for a great example of this would be one of my friends. He realized there's no entrepreneurship clubs on campus, and him and I, we really liked, we like business. We're really interested in business, and instead of joining the normal generic business club, because that's focused on mainly everything, we created this entrepreneurship club on campus, which was more concentrated just towards entrepreneurship. We're getting guest speakers who are entrepreneurs to speak, and we're getting people interested in that because we found like-minded individuals who are also entrepreneurs or have an interest in it. So that's something you can do as well. I think that's a really, really good thing to do because it takes your mind off work. It's a little productive as well, but it's fun because you meet new people. Otherwise, sports-wise, I've just been playing a little bit of tennis here and there. I would like to get back into swimming. I used to be a competitive swimmer in high school, but in the end, I couldn't make the time for it. I didn't have too much time. They have an Indian club on campus as well. So, if you're missing that taste of home, they have Indian events. So they have Diwali. They celebrate a lot of the festivals. So, you can meet people who have been born and brought up there. You can meet other international Indian kids. And it's a very, very big club. So you'll end up meeting a lot of people who are similar to us. It is a very, very diverse university. So if that is something that people are usually worried about, being, in California, it's extremely liberal and it's very, very diverse. So we have a huge influx of international students from India, from China. They're mainly these two places. And we have a little bit from Europe as well. But the diversity ratio is something like they're about 40% of Asian students. And then there's more as well, I think. So I'm not too sure about that number, but you can check it on the website. Teaching approach, the student teacher ratio is about usually 45-1, but that happens only when you get into your later years of college. So now that I'm in my third year, my classes have gotten a lot smaller. So my classes range from maybe 60 to 80 people, I think, per professor. And initially though, in the first 2 years, you have to be ready to attend huge classes because they're all like the core classes. So they're going to be about maybe 200, 300 people as well. But that being said, the professor might not know your name, but you end up getting these discussion sections which you can go to, which are more concentrated and they go over the material taught in class. These sessions usually last shorter times than the lectures. So it doesn't, obviously it's not long and it's not the same thing again and again. But at the same time, that really helps clarify topics. Plus, the teaching assistants are really approachable. And I think that's something to definitely look out for because you can usually, talk to them, ask them for advice. They can usually help you out. Plus, the professor has something called office hours. So he has 2 or 3 hours during the week that you can go to him and ask him questions. And that's your one-on-one time with the professor. So you can actually get doubts cleared. You can get to know the professor, anything of that sort. General tips and advice, I would say be yourself. If I will reiterate the fact that if you feel like you do not fit at this university, do not try and go to any university for that matter. Don't try and force yourself into a university where you don't feel like you fit well, because you're going to be spending 4 years of your life here and you need to make sure that you're going to be happy, that you can cope with the work, and that you can have a good time. So just make sure that wherever you're applying, especially say UC Irvine, for example, just be prepared for the quota system. Be prepared for the best weather in the US, and you can end up meeting people from all across the world. And I think that it is a great place to be. So yeah, thank you.